All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Ruger-Morawski. I am the Associate Director of Partnerships at Parker Dewey, and I am so very excited to talk to you all today about micro-internships. So as mentioned at the top, we have a few really exciting programs we're going to talk about today. I'm just going to take a moment to end that poll because we've got another one coming up. And we want to start by knowing what your challenges are related to engaging early career talent, because that's what we're here to help with. So we have another poll right now. If you could let us know, that'll help me customize some of the information I'm going to share. But I want to highlight that if you identify with any of the challenges you're seeing on the screen or in that poll, you are not alone. The whole reason they ended up on the screen, the reason they ended up in the poll is because this is what we are hearing from employers, from our institutional partners at schools across the country who are talking to their employers. These are some pretty common challenges. Now, I'm not here today just to be a downer and be like, yeah, there are a lot of challenges and life is tough. I am here instead to talk to you about how we at Parker Dewey can help you address these challenges with micro-internships. Now, before I go any further, I want to highlight that we are big fans of multitasking at Parker Dewey. So I'm going to put a couple links in the chat. If you said you are interested in the DeLuca program, which again allows you to engage students from Florida or Connecticut schools in addition to any HBCU and select HSIs at no cost to you, that link is in the chat. It's free to start creating your account. You are welcome to multitask. I saw we got a couple of folks from Kansas in here, so I'm going to put this in the chat as well. If you want to post a program or post an opportunity for a Kansas public institution, it is limited to public institutions in Kansas, and you yourself are a Kansas organization, again, feel free, get started through that landing page. We'll continue to talk about it as you are working through it. Those challenges are occurring for a couple of different reasons. One of those reasons is because students are either not interested or not able to engage in a lot of the traditional methods. So we have asked our nationwide network of students. We've got partners with over 600 institutions across the United States, and over 5,000 institutions have their students using Parker Dewey. They don't have to be partners. And we ask them, what are you doing when it comes to traditional methods? You can see the most popular one there is career fairs, and that's still only half. Only half of students who responded to this survey said, yeah, we're going to these events, and everything else was even lower than that. So obviously, if you're experiencing these challenges, this data kind of makes those make sense. It's hard to engage those students when the best numbers you're going to get seems to be at a career fair, and that's still only half of the folks you're trying to engage. So we also asked students, what is it that you want from campus recruiting? What is it when you go to these events or when you engage in these other ways that you are trying to accomplish? So we wanted to share what we found from students with you. A majority, 81%, are there to learn. They're trying to explore, they're trying to figure out what they want to do, who they are, where they see themselves. So they are coming in with a sponge mentality. Let me figure out what my opportunities are. Another thing that students are looking for is early engagement. More than 3/4 of those who responded said they are thinking about career planning and development during their second year or earlier. So if you have recruiting needs and you are waiting until junior or senior year to engage those students in a traditional internship, you are missing out on a couple pretty crucial years to start building your brand, start building their relationships with your team to really make a difference in their career trajectory. And then that number one, relationship building. They want to connect with the actual people that they would be working with in the role to understand, what are the types of people I'd be working with? What are the types of things I'd want to be doing? How can I hear directly from the people who are doing those things? The good news is, folks, they want to connect with you and your team. So this is where Parker Dewey comes in, because we're here to help students do all of that and to help you engage those students in doing all of that. So we, Parker Dewey, are the micro-internship people. I'm going to define what micro-internships are here in a second, but we have been providing an on-demand resource for teams for you to engage these students while also simultaneously addressing some of those recruiting-related challenges, engaging or expanding your pipeline, auditioning for longer-term roles, building your brand, all those challenges we talked about before. Now, if you are like me, you might appreciate some examples. So I'm also going to put a link in the chat here. If you want to read about examples from some of the organizations you see on the screen, now I want to be clear, we very much respect the confidentiality of the clients using Parker Dewey. So we only ever highlight the experiences of folks who have publicly talked about their experience first, or have exclusively given us permission or explicitly given us permission to highlight their experiences. But again, these are just a few examples of how folks have been using micro-internships. And with that in mind, as promised, I'm going to do a little bit of defining of micro-internships, both by highlighting what they are and making clear what they are not. So with micro-internships, you don't need to break out your crystal ball. You don't need to know what your needs are going to be for the next 10 to 18 weeks. I see that some of you in the poll, about 17% said, I just don't have enough bandwidth for long-term supervision, for big commitments. So this is where micro-internships can be really helpful for you. I encourage y'all to think right now, what is something that is on your to-do list that is going to bring value to your organization, that is going to be helpful, but maybe isn't the best use of your time, that a student or a recent graduate could complete for you. And that is typically going to be a really great micro-internship. Now, these are not long-term commitments. This is what do you need now? In fact, the projects typically only take about 10 to 40 hours in total. It is very much an on-demand type of situation. When you post a micro-internship, most of them are only on the platform for a few days, maybe a week before they kick off. We also want to make it clear, these are easy. Now, during this webinar, and you'll notice we're already about 10 minutes in, only 20 minutes left, doesn't even take that long. We're going to show you how easy it is to get started, and want to take a minute to explain why even after getting started, things continue to be easy. We at Parker Dewey act as the employer of record for every single micro-internship. So that means you don't have to worry about that typical administrative burden. You don't have to worry about tax forms. You don't have to worry about doing payroll. You don't have to worry about any of that. You're still getting a project done by a student or recent graduate, a professional project. But we take care of all of that burden. They're even under an NDA of ours. So making it clear, this is not a heavy lift for you or your hiring managers. We're going to talk about the process. It really is 3 easy steps. These are also inclusive. So something we are very proud of at Parker Dewey is the fact that over 80% of micro-interns are from historically underrepresented populations in the workforce. And to be clear, you don't know that information. You don't see their demographics, but the way our platform works and the way things pan out allows those students the opportunity to really shine. And again, you get access to millions of students from thousands of colleges and universities. We know that with your time, you probably can only make it, to so many places in person in real time. So this allows you a really effective way to expand that reach and include more folks that you probably or potentially are missing. It's also very effective. So we're going to talk a little bit about the cost ramifications, which are fantastic. And again, if you're interested in one of those 2 programs, you can do this right now for a limited time for absolutely no cost. But want to clarify that even if you are funding your own micro-internship projects, maybe you are looking to engage students in specific areas that are not, Florida or Connecticut, or not an HBCU or HCI, to be clear, they'll still be in the applicant pool, but you want to make sure that pool is wider. This is still not a heavy financial lift either. These micro-internships typically only cost a few $100s. As mentioned, there is no cost to create your account, no cost to post your project. You are only invoiced for the total cost of your project once you select your micro-intern, and 90% of what you're spending is going directly into the pockets of the students and recent graduates you are trying to build relationships with. We also want to make it clear, we're not trying to replace anything you're already doing. I mean, unless you find it so effective, you decide you're not going to do any other thing or do some other things, that is totally up to you. But we want to make this accessible, and we find a lot of folks using micro-internships to enhance other areas of their campus recruiting. I know I'm talking a lot about campus recruiting. Want to make it clear too, even if you don't have longer-term hiring goals, micro-internships are a great way to just get on-demand project support. And it works because this is the way that students want to be engaged. The vast majority, basically all, 95%, said what they want is to have real world experience. And micro-internships deliver that to them in the best way possible. I forgot to mention the vast majority are also remote, which really increases that accessibility for students, but they love it because of the flexibility. It's helping them do those things they wanted to do. They're learning about roles. They're going to connect directly with you at your company as a supervisor. It's not a big lift. It's not a huge time commitment for you, but they really appreciate that level of connection and getting to talk to somebody real at a company that they're learning about. So I'll let y'all read the rest of the screen, but there are a lot of reasons why students and recent graduates like this model in particular. And as promised, want to get to some of those impacts for you. I think we've made it pretty clear why students really like this model, but we'll also want to highlight how it's benefiting all of you. So as mentioned before, something we are very proud of at Parker Dewey is the amount of students from historically underrepresented populations who are able to engage in these paid opportunities. And we are even more excited about those numbers when you compare them to traditional paid internships. I think most of us, if not all, are aware that paid internships are crucial to other opportunities. They just make a huge difference. And only 26%, barely more than a quarter, of traditional paid internships are going to students from these historically underrepresented populations, compared to over 80% when it comes to Parker Dewey micro-internships. Now on to the cost piece. When we look at the cost of traditional campus recruiting, it can get expensive fast. Sometimes you're looking for almost $7,000 per hire, and that seems even more expensive when you consider the fact that less than half of those recent graduates are going to stay in that first full-time role for more than a year. So you're paying thousands of dollars to get them there only to have them leave in less than a year. By comparison, when you use micro-internships for your recruiting efforts, and again, it's an effective way to do it, not only are you looking at anywhere between 40 to 80% cost savings, but we also have seen that recent graduates who complete micro-internships are also significantly more likely, 98% of them, stay in their first full-time role for longer than a year. Now, to be clear, sometimes that's with the company they micro-interned with. They do the project, they realize, wow, this company is great. I'd never even thought of them before, and that connection is made. Sometimes it's with other companies. They do the micro-internship, they realize, oh, I thought this was what I wanted to do. I've realized very quickly that it's not, and they move on to another company that is a better fit. And this saves both you and the micro-intern time, in your case, expense too, because we all know that turnover can cost. Now, going back to that cost again, I want to remind you that those numbers are for self-funded traditional micro-internship model. Encourage you to take advantage of that. But again, we also have these really exciting opportunities going on right now that are going to allow you to engage HBCUs. For those who aren't familiar, those are historically Black colleges and universities, select HSIs, those are Hispanic serving institutions, and or student from any Florida or any Connecticut institution. So that's the DeLuca program. And again, the Kansas program, we've got the link in the chat. If you are a Kansas-based organization, you also have the opportunity to engage students from public Kansas institutions at no cost to you. The micro-intern will be paid, compensated appropriately for their efforts, but you don't have to spend a dime. And another piece of the beauty of this, another reason why it's so exciting, is you can really use this at any stage in your campus recruiting efforts. I know I mentioned it before, but I want to highlight again, we have students and recent graduates from over 5,000 colleges and universities, all US-based, that you are able to engage on our platform. So you can build relationships with students nationwide. And then you get to deepen those relationships with micro-internships, because these aren't, an info session. These aren't, I'm talking to somebody in a loud room and I'm overwhelmed and I'm struggling to make a connection. This is doing a real project where you get to see their skills in action, talk them through some things if they need it, but really see what they are bringing to the table and build that connection. And this is so effective, not only for the recruiting methods, but just for getting things done. We have seen that over 98% of micro-internships are either meeting or exceeding employer expectations. So if you've got a lot on your plate, you just need help, this is a great way to go about doing it. And we already touched on this, but we'll reiterate it again because we know budgets are tight. About 14% of you said budgets are tight. it is more cost effective. So it's a great way to make that budget go farther and have the money you are spending go to the students and recent graduates you want to engage. And again, it works because it addresses both your goals and the goals of the students and recent graduates you're engaging. So I'm going to end our poll here. I'm going to go ahead and share our results so we can see what everyone responded with. But it looks like our winner for today is a tie. We've got some folks who are saying, I'm just short-staffed, and we've got some who are saying, I am lacking a talent pipeline. I want to build that pipeline. So this page right here highlights the challenges that y'all are resonating with and how micro-internships can help. You're going to receive these slides later. You're going to be able to look at all of these stories, but I'm going to focus right now on that lack of talent pipeline, and I'm going to highlight just one of these stories. So this is Alex Mora. She was exploring different career paths, not exactly sure what she wanted to do. She made that very clear, and she decided to hop on Parker Dewey. She said it seemed like a good way to explore. So when she did, she saw a micro internship related to HR. She said, I'm kind of interested in that. Let me figure it out with a company she had never heard of before. Even though it's a big company, it just wasn't on her radar. Not only did she get the micro internship, but she did a great job, and they ended up offering her, and how she found out about, a talent acquisition summer internship. So she continued working. She said it was really similar projects to what I did in my micro internship, that it was really exciting to be able to see how she could apply her skills. And then fast forward even further, this past October, Alex let us know that she got a full-time role. So you can see how this student, who had never even heard of this company before, saw a micro internship, applied with the micro internship, found out about a traditional internship, from the traditional internship, found out about that entry-level role, and is now working full-time with a company that, as we said, she had never heard of before that. So for those of you who said, I need to build a talent pipeline, proof is in the pudding. This is a great way to do it. So again, those 3 easy steps, I'm going to put those links in the chat again. If you are interested in the DeLuca program, you can start from here. If you are interested in the Kansas program, you can start from here. And if you are interested in just engaging folks from everywhere, you're like, I got a budget line for this and I'm excited to get started, then you can get started from right here. You're going to see that link to get started. Now, to be clear, when you log on, you can also make adjustments. If you want to switch from using a program to not using a program, you can do all these things, but want to make sure you all know your options. So for the sake of today's example, I'm going to focus on the DeLuca program. Again, this allows you to engage students from any Florida or Connecticut institution, any historically Black college or university, as well as select Hispanic serving institutions. So let's take a look. This is the page you're going to see. So that button to start creating your project is going to be in slightly different pages depending on where you're at. You can hit this button right up here that says create my project. This is going to allow you to start a custom project. Or you can head down here to see some examples of different projects. This is a question we frequently get. You know, what are some examples? What are the types of things you see micro interns doing frequently? Want to make it clear, you're not at all limited to these templates, but if these templates meet your needs, it makes it very easy to post a micro internship. If you hit post now, then it is going to, whoops, I am signed in as a career launcher. Hold on one second. Okay, then it is going to allow you to start posting that project. So let me go back here. I'm now logged in as an employer. And now it's going to start posting that template for you. Now, again, you can post a custom project. You don't need to use these custom templates, but if they meet your needs, it can make life really easy. Now, if you have not already created a Parker Dewey account, the first thing it's going to do is encourage you to make one. So want to make it clear first how easy it is to set up that Parker Dewey account. Now, obviously, I've not fully completed this, but this is what it takes to set up your profile. Super simple, free to create your account. So this is a great time to get started. You'll fill in some information, even though the majority of projects are remote, and we do encourage that. We like to have you clarify where you're located in case a student is really trying to network in a specific area. These projects from the landing page you go from are templated. So if you're using just the general, then you have, you can adjust this, you can make changes. If you're going from the Kansas program, or if you're going from the DeLuca program, you do not want to touch these right here, because these are scoped for the nature of the project. Now you can make adjustments to the description, just make sure it can still reasonably done in 15 hours, but these are pre-scoped. And we often get questions about this right here, because it says amount you pay. And I know you might be thinking, well, this lady just told me that this is an opportunity to do this for free. So why am I seeing this? Here's a reminder. If you're participating in a program funded by a third party, and that's what the DeLuca program is, that's what the Kansas program is, somebody else is footing the bill, you will not be charged. So you just need to make sure that under this affiliations, and again, this is pre-scoped, so it should automatically pop up, that this is here, and that you leave this at the 15 hours in the established pay, you are not going to be charged. And even if you make a mistake and accidentally change something, you can just reach out to us and we'll help you figure it out. So you've got those details there. If you are posting your own funded micro-internship, you also have the opportunity to feature that exclusively to certain schools. So a couple ways we see some folks using this feature. Maybe you have an upcoming traditional internship that's going to be in person. This can be a great way to build a talent pool, to build awareness of your organization. But since you want whoever does the micro-internship to potentially be able to move into a traditional internship, you might decide to feature it exclusively to local institutions. You might also decide that you want to give back to someone from your alma mater, give an opportunity to a student who is in the same place that you were at one time. You're welcome to use it that way as well. Again, we've got this opportunity. Maybe you have an affiliation with an organization. You want to see if there are students from that organization on the platform. You're welcome to check that out. But again, if you are looking to take advantage of a funded program, make sure you do not remove that affiliation. You can select whether you want current students or recent graduates. It's totally up to you. And then you can also let us know if this is being used to identify for a longer term opportunity. That just helps us with our reporting. Now, this question, why do you think we should select you, is always built in, but if you want to add additional questions, you are welcome to, and you get the opportunity to decide what those questions are. And once you hit that blue button, it is out there in the world for students to see and start applying, and apply they do. So the next part is to look at your applicants. But before we talk about that, also just want to highlight, we really see all different sizes, all different industries, all different departments using these micro-internships. You've got everyone from the folks, everybody knows about, but maybe doesn't realize what types of opportunities are available with that company. They've got preconceived notions, to folks, maybe you've heard of AFJ Consulting, maybe you haven't, but you can use this as a great way to build brand. We saw that with the Alex Morris story in Northrop Grumman. And then we've got this example from Train Technologies too, to highlight you can have micro-internships do some pretty technical projects. I do not know what collecting technical specs data is, wouldn't know where to start, but we have students on the platform who do. Now, to be clear, anything that requires a background check or is involving confidential information, typically not recommended as a micro-internship. But if you want to brainstorm, think about how we can create something that's going to be beneficial for you as a micro-internship project. We're here to help with that too. So again, that next step, you're going to select who you want. For every day you have your micro-internship up and posted, and again, that's typically not long. We see folks make selections usually within a few days, if not around a week. You are going to get a digest on the daily showing you your applicants. When you log on, you're going to see something very similar to the left here. And I know you may be thinking, oh, well, what if I get a ton of applicants? I don't have the time to go all through these. We use micro-internships ourselves at Parker Dewey, and I've got to tell you, it is much simpler and efficient than you might think. You'll see over here on the side, you have the opportunity to star candidates. So if someone gave great responses, really has the skills you're looking for, make your short list. If someone didn't give thoughtful responses in their application, or if they don't have certain pieces in their application, maybe they didn't include a resume or those types of things, like, I need someone with more attention to detail, you can hide them. And very quickly, you'll get your short list, and then you'll be able to make your selection. Now, you do also have the option, you can see up in the right, to send a message only to those candidates who have applied for your micro-internship. If you want to ask a follow-up question, or if you want to schedule an interview, you're welcome to do that. But again, This isn't a heavy lift for y'all. And if you're using the DeLuca program or the Kansas program, it is a no-cost lift for y'all. So a lot of companies feel comfortable making their selection based just on what they see here, which allows everything to move much more quickly. And then the fun part, that work gets done. It's up to you how you want to engage with your micro intern, whether you want to do email check-ins, whether you want to do Zoom calls, it's whatever works best for you and them. We are here to support both sides. If you are finding something isn't working out the way you expected, or if the student is finding something isn't what they expected, we're here to support everybody. And again, over 98% of these micro interns are meeting or exceeding expectations. They are typically so excited to do a fantastic job on your project. But if for some reason they are not meeting your expectations, let us know. And we are happy to help you address those issues and make sure that you are getting your money's worth. Again, if you're paying for a project with what we've got going now, you may not even be paying. And a reminder too, that this is a really great way to build that pipeline. I know we already had the Alex story, but just want to give another example from Train Technologies. They knew they had some opportunities coming up, so they thought, what are some things that we need done right now? And they did have some needs, like they needed someone to develop a pressure model. Another example, I wouldn't even know where to start, but we've got students on the platform who do. They needed someone to do some research, someone to update a manual. And they posted these as micro internships. They got students engaged, they got these projects done. And then later, when these longer term opportunities, a traditional internship and an entry-level role came about, they had students who were already aware of them and excited to apply. All right. And if you have folks on your team who are not here today, but you know could make use of this, I'd say this flyer is perhaps the easiest thing to share with them. I'm going to put the link to this in the chat, but it highlights for some of those challenges that we've talked about today, wanting to build your brand, having some on-demand needs, but not needing something longer term, making things work within a budget. This highlights how micro internships can help, and also highlights with quotes from real micro interns that this isn't just hypothetical. This isn't, oh, wouldn't it be nice if? This really works. So next steps, folks, if you didn't already create your account while we were having this conversation, get started right now. The DeLuca funding is only scheduled to go through the end of 2023. So there has never been a better time to get started if you plan on using that funding. Share the resources that we've covered today with your colleagues, add it to your existing recruiting efforts. And I want to make it clear again, this is designed not to be adding something else on your plate. When we say add it to your recruiting program, really should be changing that to take advantage of it, because it's getting something off your plate while accomplishing those other goals. And if you have other needs, ask us. We are here and happy to help. So with that, I will open up the floor for questions. Please feel free to throw those in the chat, or if you want to ask them, it'd be easier to say them verbally. Please just raise your hand and I will be happy to allow you to talk. All right, awesome. I see a message to just host and panelists. Thank you so much for being here, Holly. All right, well, I know I came in a minute under, which doesn't give us a huge amount of time, but I will hang out until the room clears just in case anybody has any questions. But just want to say thank you again so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. And we are really excited to support your efforts and help you get this professional on-demand project support from some very talented students and recent graduates.